Hello, and welcome to this JavaScript Complete Beginners Tutorial Series, video 3. And in this video, we are going to talk about what are functions. If you are new here on this channel, or if you are new in this playlist, then let me show you this playlist which is on my channel where I am creating JavaScript tutorial series. So check it out if you are a new developer, if you are a new web developer. So let's move on and let's learn what is function in JavaScript. On the left hand side, I have an HTML file which is inside JavaScript folder, and on the right hand side, I have opened it using the live server. So let me collapse the Explorer. In the last video, we were writing all of the JavaScript code inside script tag, right? Like this, right? If I save the file, you will get this pop-up message saying hello YouTube. But in this video, we are going to write JavaScript codes in an external file, and we will link that external file to this script tag. So for that, we will provide an attribute, source attribute, which will hold the location of the file where we are writing all of our JavaScript codes today. So before providing the source, I need to create the file. So I'll open up my Explorer, and inside JavaScript folder, I will create a new folder and I'll call it JavaScript. And inside this folder, I will create a new file and I'll call it index.js. You can call your file anything you want. Now in here, let me write an alert message just to make sure that everything is working properly. And inside the HTML file, in this script tag, we will provide source attribute and we will set it equal to the location of JavaScript file. So the JavaScript file is inside JavaScript folder and it is named index.js. Now if we save the file, we will get this pop-up message saying hello YouTube. So this means that our index.js is linked properly. Now we can write whatever we want to write in here. So let's talk about what are functions. In the previous video, we had written some codes to add two numbers, right? Like this, right? If I save the file, you will see the alert message is showing us the value inside the sum variable. We have just defined a variable first number, then we have defined second number, and we have added first number and second number, and on line 6 we are alerting sum, and that is why we are getting 30 on this alert message. So now what if we want to add two numbers 20 times, 30 times, or 100 times, or maybe 1000 times? What we will do, we will rewrite this code 1000 times. Well, if you like typing that much, you can do so, but there is a better way. We can group a set of instructions or a set of commands using function, and then we can call that function as many times as we need. So let's go ahead and do that. So to create a function, first of all, we write a keyword called function, and after this word we write name of the function which we are creating. So I will call it some two numbers. And while writing name of a function, it is a good idea to use camel case characters. Camel case means first letter of each word is capital. Now a function name must end with parentheses, and in here you can write name of parameters which will be passed to this function, but we will talk about that later. After parentheses, we will give opening and closing curly braces, and within the opening and closing curly braces, we will write all of our commands which we want to reside inside this function. So let me cut these lines and paste it inside this function like this. Okay, there is a mistake, an error. Now how can we use the codes written inside a function? For that, we just have to call out the name of the function. So for calling a function or for invoking a function, we will just write name of the function, and then at the end of the function name we'll put parentheses, and at the end of the line I'll put semicolon. Now if you save the file, you can see the codes within the function block or within these two curly braces are being executed, and that is why we are getting this alert message saying 30. Now if you call this function twice, thrice, or as many times as you want to call it, it will perform the same thing for as many times as you have called the functions. So here I am clicking on the alert message for the first time, now for second time, third, fourth, fifth, and that's it. So here, because I called the function once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, that is why the alert message was being popped up 5 times. So you can immediately see the use case of function. It makes our code modular because we can use the same code again and again in different places, and we can also group a series of command which is used for performing a specific task, and this way our code will make more sense and we can also arrange our code in a readable manner. Now let me delete these lines. Now on line 7 we are simply alerting the sum, right? But in a function we can also return the calculated value, or whatever you want to return you can do so. So to return a value we simply have to write the keyword return, and after that we have to write the name of the variable which we want to return. So now let me write some code to explain this concept of return. So I'll create a variable and I'll call it returned value, and I'll set the value of this returned value variable equal to the function sum of two numbers, and instead of returning the sum, this time I will alert returned value. Now let's save, and now as you can see that we are getting the same result. Let me break down this code so that you can understand what is happening here. Let me maximize the VS Code. What is happening here, on line 4 this number 10 is being stored inside this variable first number, and on line 2 20 is being stored inside second variable, and on line 6 first number and second number is being added, and the added value is being stored inside this variable called sum. And here on line 7 the sum, the added value, is being returned to the place where this function was called. So in case of this code the return value will be 30, and this 30 is then assigned to this variable due to this assignment operator, and that is why we got 30 over here. So this is how a return works. You can return anything from a function. So instead of returning this sum, I can directly return any string. If you save the file, you can see this time the alert message is saying this is a string, exactly the value which I had returned. So let's press OK. So this is how return works. Now let's learn how can we pass parameters to a function. Here on line 4 and 5 I have hard coded the first number and the second number, but what if I want this function to be more dynamic? I want to provide these first number and second number dynamically so that I can reuse this code again and again. So for that, the place where I have defined the function, I will provide parameters to this function. So the first parameter which I want to pass to this function will be called num1, and I can name it whatever I want, and I'll pass second variable named num2. Now instead of setting the first number equal to 10, I will set it equal to num1, and I will set second number equal to num2. Now the place where I'm calling this function, or I am invoking this function, inside the parentheses I will provide value for this num1 and num2. So here I can write two numbers. First number, let's say I'm gonna provide 34, and as second number I'm gonna provide 44. Now let's save the code and see what is the result. And now the alert message is saying 79, which is sum of 34 and 45. So let's break down this code so that you can understand properly what is happening here. Here where I am calling the function sum of two numbers or sum two numbers, these values are called as argument. So the first argument is being passed to num1, or to the first parameters of function definition, and the second argument is being sent to the second parameter of the function, and then inside the function num1 is being assigned to first number and num2 is being assigned to second number, and these two numbers are being added. Now this way our code has become a little bit more modular, because now we can use the same function to add different numbers. So let me go ahead and do that just to show you. So I'll create another constant and I will name it result2, and I'll set it equal to the function sum of two numbers, and I'm gonna provide different arguments this time. This time I'm gonna provide 12 and 24, and just for the sake of readability, change the first variable to result1 so that our code makes a bit more sense. And on line 12, instead of alerting the result, I'm gonna log the result. To log the result, we will write console.log, and inside the parentheses we will write the name of the variables which we want to log. So first I want to log result. I'm making a lot of typos. First I'll log result1, and I have made typo here also, and then I'll log result2 also. Now if I save the file, we should see first sum of 32 and 45, and then we should see sum of 12 and 24. But this time there's no alert message because we have logged the results instead of alerting it. So to see the log, we can right click on our web page, then we can click on inspect. This type of window will appear at the bottom of your web browser, or at right side or at left side of your web browser, and this is developer tool, which is very handy if you are developing a website. So in this developer tool, we will come to console tab, and in the console you can see that first we are getting 79, which is sum of 34 and 45, and then we are getting sum of 12 and 24, which is 36, and these logs are being logged due to these lines, line number 13, line number 14. So this is how we can pass parameters to a function. Now there is one point to note, that you can create as many functions as you need in your code. So if I wish, I can create another function which will take two numbers and multiply them, then it will return the product. So first I'll write the keyword function, and then I'll write name of my function. So I will call it product of two numbers, and right after the name I will put parentheses, and I will pass the parameter, and I'll call my parameters num1 and num2. Then I will give opening and closing curly braces, and inside the curly braces I'm going to reuse these statements, and I'll paste it over here. Instead of sum, I'll call this variable product, and I'll return the product, and instead of adding these two numbers, I will multiply them. Now let me delete the result2 and rename this result1, and I'll call it added value, and I'll create another constant, call it product, and I'll set it equal to function which is providing product of two numbers, and as argument I'm gonna pass the same numbers which I have passed to the first function, 34 and 45, and inside the log I will change the variable names. First I will log added value, and then I will log product. Now if we save the file, we should see sum of 34 and 45, and then we should see product of these two numbers, 34 and 45. So let's save the file, and now as you can see, the result is as expected. Now the place where we are invoking these functions, we can, instead of providing this hard-coded value, we can give name of any variable if we wish to. So let's define a variable, and I'll call it x, and I'll set it equal to 24, and I'll define another variable y, and I'll set it equal to 10. Now I'll replace these numbers with x and y. So now if I save the file, we should get sum of 24 and 10, and then we should get product of 24 and 10. Save the file and cross check, and the result is okay. So now I want you to note one more point, and that is any function can call any other function inside its block. So to demonstrate that, let me create another function which will show some message. So I'll call this function show message, and inside the block of this show message function, I will simply log a message, show.log, and inside the parentheses I will put double quotes. You can use double quotes or single quotes, whatever you prefer. I prefer double quotes. So inside this I'll write a string, the result is. Now right before returning sum, I will call this function show message, and what it will do, it will log this message, the result is. I'll do the same in this function also, product of two numbers. Right before return, I will call show message. So each time these functions get called, either this one or this one, they will show message, the result is. So let's save the file and see what happens. Okay, we have got our message, the result is twice, because both of these functions are being called, but these are not in the right place, and the reason behind it is after calling these two functions we are logging the results. So let's make some changes so that the result is as per expectation. So now it should work as per our expectation. When we'll call sum two numbers, it will add these two numbers, and right before returning the sum, it will show message, and then we will log the added value. Then this product of two numbers function will get called, and it will multiply these two numbers, then it will show the message, and then it will log. So let's save, and now as you can see, the result is as per our expectation. Okay, there's one more thing which I want you to understand, and that is, once we have written this keyword return, we cannot write command or any statement or any code after this line where we have written return. So for example, let's say after this line where I'm returning the product, if I try to log a message console, it will not show. So let's save this file, and as per expectation, this message, I'm a message, did not show up in the console. And the reason behind it is, whenever the function is executed, it starts to execute sequentially, but as soon as it reaches the line where it finds the keyword return, it simply returns the value of variable written right in front of it, and it jumps back to the place from where it was called, and it does not execute any code written after return statement. So keep this in mind, otherwise you might get unexpected bug in your code. Now let's save the file. Okay, so this is it for this video. If you like this video, if you learned something, then please hit the like button. And if you are new and you want to learn web development, or you are learning JavaScript, then subscribe to my channel. If you are watching this video on any other platform other than YouTube, like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you are, then follow me, and link of all of my social media handles are given in the description. Follow me in all the other platforms. So goodbye for now. Keep coding, keep practicing.